What's up, everyone? I hope everyone's feeling amazing and ready for some information that I'm going to be sharing with you all. Now, this this subject on the plasmas, I've been getting so much hate from people. I'll try and show you guys the many comments that I'm getting where people are just continuously claiming that, oh, these are balloons, or oh, these are bags of chips that are up in the atmosphere. And what really bugs me is that everyone is ignoring the factual evidence that have been released, not only from the STS space shuttle missions, the astronauts, but even these scientific papers, going back to Hans Alvin, who was a magnetodynamics or something, hydromagnetodynamics, and he was working with plasmas, and he started to realize that, wow, these plasmas have the ability of producing intention, which is, the substance of consciousness almost, right? Like these things, they communicate through your thoughts, and even let's say for the Foo Fighters, right? The pilots said that it seemed like these things were toying with them. They would follow them or they would chase them, right? So I just find this so interesting. And what makes this even more amazing is that we have video evidence by so many different people online who have been, recording, calling these things to them. I call them nightly, and it actually works. And there are so many people who, ever since I started my TikTok page, I get, people telling me, oh, I'm having the same exact experiences. Oh, here, check out this video that I recorded. Look at this. And it's the same thing. This phenomena is worldwide and a lot of people are experiencing it. And it seems like just sharing the video footage of this stuff, or even the NASA, encounters, the astronauts encounters, isn't enough for people to grasp this concept. So I feel that the next step is going to be to just share this, research paper that started me down this rabbit hole. And so this is from the research paper. I think it's Extraterrestrial and Biological Life, Pre-Life in the Upper Atmosphere or something. I'll link it below for you guys to click onto and check it out yourself. But in this is going to be section 16. And this is about UFOs, plasmas, and Foo Fighters of World War II, which is basically when this phenomena started, right? Like for military's sake, you have these pilots. Well, actually, what ended up happening was we upgraded our radar systems, and that is when these encounters started to be seen on our, radar systems. And then they would send out pilots to go and check these out. And, what did they see? They saw balls of fire, light, and what really interests me the most about this is when you start looking into the old ancient text about, demons, angels, jinn. They all speak of these, brilliant balls of fire, these, smokeless fire that would come down and communicate with them. Even like in, Enoch, the wheels within wheels, or the being with eyes all over its body, it sounds like somebody from back then trying to conceptualize what they're seeing, these beings, who, seem to be, like I said, conscious. They have awareness. And again, going back to the opposition that I'm facing on this problem, it seems like people aren't able to grasp this understanding. And so I have a theory on this. And I think that, in all these ancient texts, it speaks of us going through cycles of awareness and consciousness. The Kali Yuga is what we're in now. Or, the time of Aquarius is the time of awakening and understanding. And that's what we're coming into now. And I think that back then, people had a ability to actually perceive these things, right? And understand, like, okay, there's something weird going on here. I can see it, right? But now in this world that we're in here, with the level of our consciousness, you look at the music, the TV, movies, even the news, everything is so dumbed down that people just can't grasp it. And I don't think it's their fault. I think it's just that is the level of awareness that a majority of humanity is at. And so when looking at this problem, I'm trying to look at it, what's the best way for me to share this information so that people can look at it and say, okay, here's something that I can follow, and this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense, basically, right? So after I read this document right here, I've actually combed through some CIA documents that here it is right here. And it's like 189 pages of what looks like a bunch of code, right? And so I sifted through, and I found some very interesting things on this. Here, I'll share this first part of it. Oops, 1 second. There we are. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so this is, part 1. And I'll be reading this after the plasmoid document, but these are actual accounts of these sightings. And what we're seeing in these accounts is, these have all been captured on radar, and these are objects that are emitting another object, right? Which is just mind-boggling. And I have video of this happening from multiple people who have been calling these plasma entities. They will literally emit a smaller object that, it's not falling to the ground. It keeps its own path and keeps going, right? And this is what we see in the what the Nimitz encounter was said. There was the one main UFO, and it was accompanied by a fleet of other UFOs, right? So I just want to present all of the evidence, all of the data that we have to our disposal, so that people can get a more grounded understanding of what is happening. So with that said, I will begin with this first paper. Okay. So, the plasmas filmed by 10 different shuttle missions change shape and can be up to 1 kilometer or more in size. Many also engage in different behavior that could be likened to Carl Sagan's hunters, floaters, sinkers, and scavengers. As documented by STS-80, STS-119, and STS-75, plasmas descend into thunderstorms as single plasmas, or in groups of 2, 3, or more, followed by yet others, such that entire fleets of plasmas may descend into the troposphere, which extend from the ground level to 33,000 feet above the surface. Why'd you stop recording? Okay. Where was I at? Above the surface. Okay. It can be predicted that these plasmas might also be attracted to the radio signals, sources of heat, and electrically generated by propeller and jet-propelled aircraft, and when observed, classified as UFOs, bogies, or UAPs, or as was common during the Second World War, Foo Fighters. So yes, this is, where the whole thing of Foo Fighters started, right? We have these balls of light, that are, fleets of these objects that are just out there, and our pilots are encountering them. So much so to where we start sending up pilots to go and intersect these things and be like, okay, what are these, right? Because it's not the Germans, not the Japanese, it's not us, it's nobody. We don't know who it is. And furthermore, they're in space, right? Which I find super fascinating. Okay. So, and this picture right here is a picture of, basically what these plasmas look like, right? And so what I want to say is, in this paper, it says that these things, when they're, up in space, they can grow to being like 1 kilometer in size or more, right? And, the videos that I have, they're not that big. And so the reason for that is because in this paper, they stated that when it falls into Earth's gravity well, they condense into something considered a plasma crystal, right? So this is how they, they have this glowy kind of, congealed shape, right? It's because the space dust that they are is being squished and taking form, whatever form that can be in. And what's really interesting is that one of these researchers from the Plasmoid Anomalies Study Group He's actually made communications with these things. On the ground, he lays out, 20 by 20, a number. Let's say it's 20 or 19. He sends up a gigahertz radio frequency, and then he uses a light signal that he reflects light from a mirror up, and these things will actually take the shape of the number that he has on the ground. And what's really crazy is when you look at these shapes, when you look at them floating, it's not exactly, the number. It resembles it, but it's not exactly it, which is really interesting, and which requires, objective observations. It requires you to not just glance at this. You need to pay attention to the details, right? Because that's what this is all about. An extraterrestrial, presence or entity or organism isn't going to behave like, anything that we know of, right? If you were to go, let's say if you've never been in the sea and you dive into the ocean and oops, you scare an octopus, right? What does that octopus do? It's going to take the shape of its surroundings, right? And maybe you'll be able to see, but if you understand what you're looking for and you say, okay, these things can do this, then you'll see that there's something off wherever that octopus is hiding, because it's not perfect, right? Okay, continuing on. A U.S. Coast Guard photographer, Sheil R. Albert, took a photograph through a window screen showing 3 cloud-like formations over the Winter Island, Salem, Massachusetts air station at 9:35 a.m. on the 16th of July, 1952. Official U.S. Coast Guard photograph. The air station had a radio radar and conducted sea rescues, and its facilities served amphibious helicopters and seaplanes. The weather and temperature at that time was between 88 degrees Fahrenheit and 91 degrees Fahrenheit, with a dew point of 65 to 67.68, muggy, and lots of moisture in the air, right? According to the Weather Gov, as a general rule, the surface dew point needs to be 55 degrees Fahrenheit or greater for a surface-based thunderstorm to occur. As can be seen from the photograph, the sky was dark and overcast, perfect weather for thunderstorms. So basically what they're saying here is that, the situation that this photograph was taken in is the perfect, temperature for, sorry, I'm trying to fix something. Perfect temperature for thunderstorms. So, it would make sense that we would see these things in the air at that time. And here we are. Okay, I'll just go here. Shoop. All right. Let's see. In the 1940s, pilots reported being confronted, toyed with, and challenged by UFOs/UAPs that were white and silver, often glowing or translucent, and shaped like clouds, donuts, balls, or spheres. Allied pilots called them Foo Fighters. Hundreds of pilots and flight crews described the Foos as a fire glowing and sometimes changing colors from silver, white, to red-orange. For example, as reported by Allied Supreme Headquarters and numerous news media outlets, including in 1944 by the New York Times, airmen of the American Air Force report that they are encountering silver-colored spheres in the air, either singly or in clusters. Sometimes they are semi-translucent. There was no information available as to what holds them up like stars in the sky, what is in them, or what their purpose appears to be. So here we are seeing hundreds of accounts of these Foo Fighters being seen and, discussed by pilots, right? And even to this day, we still have this phenomena happening. We see, silver. I can show you numerous videos of pilots who have taken video of, silver craft flying in the sky, right? It's so fascinating. And all the information is, right in front of us. It just takes, yourself to be able to put the pieces together, right? Because the government's not going to come out and tell you, hey, this is what's going on, right? Because obviously they don't really know what's going on. And my theory on this is because these plasmas can connect to us via consciously, right? They communicate through intentions and thought through the ether, okay? And this will open up a whole can of worms for our society, for our humanity, right? Okay, all of a sudden we have, proof that consciousness is non-localized. Things like remote viewing, telepathy, all real, all can work, right? Which the CIA has released documents on, the gateway process. This is a known thing that they have been studying, right? But sure enough, the public, is just, blind to it. We don't really care. We don't pay attention to that, right? And if this phenomenon was to be made, public and talked about, then people would start grasping this concept a little more. And on top of that, the existence of the ether, where these things, how these things move bioenergetically, this opens up the free energy, the teleportation, faster than light travel, warp drive. All of a sudden, as of now, the MH370 videos of that plane getting teleported, which I want to say are 100% real, right? We understand the science behind that. We even know the why. Why did they teleport this? Well, there were 20 free-scale room temperature semiconductor engineers who were Chinese nationalists who were defecting and going back to China to give them the information that they had gathered during their time in Texas at these research facilities, right? If they were to get that, room temperature semiconductor technology, boom, they got anti-gravity. They've got, faster than light travel, teleportation. And so what's interesting is like we use the exact same technology that they were trying to, get the basis for, to snatch them out of the freaking air, right? It's just crazy. And I won't go into that tangent, but if you guys want to check out the information on that, highly suggest you go check out Ashton Forbes. He's doing great work, and he's had many scientists on there. Some of the best ones I think are Dave Rossi, Salvatore Pais, and Bob Greenyer. If you can, look those guys up. They will explain everything to you, and it's beautiful, it's elegant, it's simple, and it's world-changing. All right, so let's continue. So, according to the official military reports, the Foos were incredibly fast, capable of amazing maneuvers and impossible turns, and would ride alongside, above, below, and directly in front of U.S. fighter planes, which proved incapable of shooting them down. Initially, Allied pilots thought these were German secret weapons. However, German pilots also observed these fast-moving, round, glowing objects, as did Japanese pilots. The Foos were attracted to the planes. The Foos sometimes flew in groups that surrounded the planes or followed close behind. Typically, they would vanish after toying with the warplanes. Now, tell me that ain't freaking crazy. All right, I'm so sorry. For some reason, my camera keeps on stopping its recording. I don't know why. We're gonna go to 1080. Okay, this should work. Oh, frames per second. Oh shit, come on. Are you still recording? Hold on, sorry. Okay, we'll go to 30 frames per second on my camera. And boom, and we will hit that record button. Okay, so this should be fine. Sorry for the glitches if there are any. I'm still very new at this, okay? Alrighty, so yes, that's the research paper right there, right? Now, pretty interesting, huh? And here we will go into the CIA document. Actually, I'll show you the actual document first. Let's see, go up here. One more. Alrighty. So, I know that that there was a really good one in here that like kind of blew my mind, honestly, when I saw it for the first time. Let's see. Refueling. Okay, never mind. So this is just basically what I have already. And what I've done is I've, copy pasted all of that, and I wrote it out in a very readable and digestible manner. Okay? So this was approval for release 2001-04-02. CIA report. And this paper, I think, was released it was written up in 1964. It was released to the public 2001, and it was uploaded online 2016, is what on the CIA page says. So here we go. Moving at high speed past the plane, and crew members reported there is only one aerial phenomena which remotely resembles brief visual sightings of fast-moving lights, i.e. UFOs. Finally, the UFOs, their description and performance of the UFOs in these cases were seen on the radar scope to merge with a gigantic blip. Radar aerial refueling operations by jets and tanker aircrafts in the target, which shot off the scope at about 9,000 miles an hour. So what it's saying is that these were all captured on radar by these, things, by the tanker or aerial refueling operations, right? And I mean, what? These things emerge with a gigantic blip. That's pretty crazy. And so this small text right here, what we're seeing, these are all cases that have been tracked on radar that have satellite objects, right? We got 1944, 1951, 1951, 1952, April 2nd or April 29th, 1952, July 23rd, 1952. All of these are different sightings, and there's a absurd amount, I want to say. So this is the nitty-gritty right here. This stuff is cool. So I'll be reading, these cases that were from the CIA paper, but these all have, parent objects that are emitting smaller objects. So this one, oval, emitted 3 smaller disks from underside, which hovered, moved away in different directions. All right, here's another one, parent object. 5 smaller flew out of it, paralleled plane, but when pilot pressed radio button to report sightings, UFOs disappeared quickly. Like, that's pretty incredible. They know that they're about to press that button, so they disappear. Just like in the Nimitz case, right? They what the Nimitz? Oh, they appeared at their cap point. They somehow or another they knew where they were going, right? It's just unreal, really, for real. All right, let's see. Parent object, winged shape UFO, kind of similar to the guy who coined UFOs. I forget what his name is, but his sighting was kind of like a boomerang that had like a wing to it or something. I think it's like Arnold or something. God, I cannot believe I can't remember his name. Oh well. Yeah. Trailed by a circular formation of over 30 evenly spaced dark objects which tilted back and forth in unison. Appearance discs. Parent object, flat oval, emitted 5 smaller objects from one end. Wow. Parent object, silver cigar, leaving fiery exhaust, emitted bright lights after showing. Lights formed in clusters sped away in various directions. Parent object, silvery, elliptical, moved northwest over city, stopped, launched 2 small discs which circled area, went back on board, climbed straight up at high speed. Like, what? Climb straight up at high speed? That's insane. Here we go. This is the next one. parent object. Unspeculated, I guess is what it says. Ejected small object. Minutes later, two more small. Three flew off in different directions. I'm sorry, I'm like copy pasting these from the CIA paper, so maybe there's a couple words missing. Let's see, parent object, narrow cylinder, inclined 45 degrees, plus 30 Saturn-like discs, small, moved in pairs, zigzagged, angel's hair fell. Now this is another interesting attribute of these things, this so-called angel hair. And what's really fascinating is the guy from the Plasmoid Anomaly Study Group has a video of this angel hair. I'll be sharing in this video for you guys to see. I mean, it's really, really interesting. Let's see, parent object, cigar inclined 45 degrees, plus 16 discs with domes, small, flew in pairs, zigzagged, angel's hair fell. Parent object, variously described, plus about 6 small shiny objects, sometimes appearing to enter and leave object. Parent object, apparently cylindrical, accompanied by 15 to 20 smaller lights moving around independently. Parent object, vertical cigar, emitted 5 discs from lower end, which moved away horizontally. Parent object, cigar, appeared out of the clouds horizontally, tilted vertically, emitted shiny disc, which spiraled around cigar, darted away, finally returned, re-entered cigar, which returned to horizontal, flew away into clouds. Like, these sound like space kangaroos, right? Like, these things can just like go into them and then, you know, come back and leave whenever it wants, you know. Pretty, just so interesting. So yeah, I have a bunch of these, and I won't bother you guys with reading them, you know, all. You guys can definitely read them yourself. Here, I'll finish this bit off for you guys to see. So yeah, that's basically what I have right now, and I just wanted to share, you know, this information with you all, because I feel that it is just uncannily like interesting, you know. And like I said before, I think that one of the major problems with why I'm receiving so much opposition and hate towards this, you know, like people don't even take the time to understand like what they're saying. They just immediately say, oh, it's balloons. Oh, it's a bag of chip. Oh, that was my cousin's balloon that flew away at a birthday party. Like, it doesn't make any sense, because you can clearly see that there's something else going on here. And I mean, don't take it just from me, you know, take it from these, you know, CIA documents, take it from the STS-9 astronauts that are literally saying exactly what you're saying: a translucent, metallic, definitely not rigid, shiny object, you know, balloon-like object with string, you know, up in space during the STS tether experiment by NASA, you know. This is a known phenomenon, and again, like, the implications of this are very far-reaching, and, you know, it touches on the origins of life, right? You know, the whole idea of panspermia being, you know, a favorite among scientists, that, okay, a comet or asteroid carrying, you know, the necessary building blocks for life smashed into the planet, depositing RNA and amino acids, and, you know, lightning strikes, and that's how life formed, right? There are some pieces to that that are missing, but when we look at, you know, let's say the universe being populated with these plasmoid creatures that are gathering space dust, which is made of the building blocks of life, you know, amino acids, RNA, and on top of that, these things are electrically charged, you know, positive and negatively charged, right? These things, they consume each other, they eat each other, and these things could be the most abundant form of life in the entire universe, because they don't need an atmosphere. They could have been here when the Big Bang started. You know, this is a conscious form of the universe taking up shape, utilizing the substance of the universe itself, right? Where do they come from? Maybe the ether, you know, maybe as our consciousness is now localized, there is this other space, you know, through that gateway dimension, you know, which allows us to basically siphon off free energy from it. You know how they say that in a teacup, there's enough energy in that to power the entire world or something like that. You know, this is science that people are doing, and sadly, anybody who develops this science, what happens to them? They get killed, right? They die, they mysteriously die, and this is like over 20 people. And so what's really interesting is that, you know, Ashton Forbes, along with a group of scientists behind those MH370 videos, are developing free energy devices. They've already sold like 30 of them, right? And I mean, they're proving their case. They're saying, here, look, this thing is real. This is how it works. Watch as it, you know, does its thing, right? So I feel like the paradigm is changing. And this is just another thing on this list of humanity that people need to grasp the reality of, right, as this whole change happens, right? And this is not to say that I don't think that there are, you know, nuts and bolts craft. I still think that there are some of those, as Jack Vallée said, that these things can create material form, right? Which is really interesting to think. You know, this is almost like that's the basis of alchemy, right? And this is one of the main things that, you know, Aleister Crowley or, you know, some of the other like people who are into all this mystic things are trying to do. They're trying to call these entities, and they apparently give them information. Who knows if it's real? I don't know. But, you know, the science is here that these things exist. And I mean, who am I to say that it's not possible for them to create some kind of ship or something like that, right? It's very, very fascinating. I love this field. I love this almost as much as I love ancient civilizations, honestly. It's a hard choice between those two, you know, like, should I talk about ancient civilizations, the megalithic structures, or should I talk about these plasma aliens where we have like thousands of videos of their existence, you know, and scientific paper, you know, going back into like the 1940s, right? This is one of the main reasons why ball lightning has been kind of put on the hush hush, because that touches into this field, you know. It's so cool, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, I can't wait to do the next one, and if you guys have any questions, just please ask me, and I'll try and answer anything that I can to help you guys understand this a little bit better. I will say that if you want some resources, you can check out Trevor James Constable, his books, the Living UFOs and Cosmic Pulse of Life. He was one of the first people to actually start photographing these things. He was a military, you know, radar specialist who, once they upgraded their systems, they started seeing these things up there, you know, named them the Foo Fighters. And him, you know, being as a scientific mind, he's like, well, wait a minute, what are these things? Not only are we getting radar blips, but we're getting, you know, eyewitness accounts. And, you know, so luckily he, you know, basically laid the foundation of this field, and, you know, everyone else is just kind of going on after him. So I'd highly suggest you check out his books, and it's very interesting. And of course it touches on the concept of, you know, a little woo-woo, a little spirituality, because this subject is inherently that, you know, which is insane to even think that I'm like talking about. But, you know, I think that us as humans, we tend to put our own, you know, human perspective and understanding on something that is not human, right? So we have a tendency to be like, oh, they're angels, oh, they're demons, right? But in reality, it's just like a part of the universe, right? And so we need to look at it with, you know, an open mind, and, you know, be skeptical for sure, right? But also be observant and look at the data being presented in front of you. And that's all I got to say for this one, you guys. This is From Thought. Much love. Peace out.